Hello and welcome, everybody. We are going to the Gauntlet. This is Polar's 8v8 tournament held on the Shoal Realm for Alpha Phase 2.5, both held on Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. PST or 11 a.m. EST. This tournament will showcase 15 teams of some of the best players of the server competing round-robin event, followed by a single elimination best of series bracket stage, followed by the grand finals for a $1,000 cash prize. I have a special guest for the draw show, Chibi Bree from the Golden Feather Tavern, to help us. Hi, Chibi. How are you doing? It's been a long time.
Doing pretty well. It has been. It has been. Thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this. This is really exciting.
No, thank you. It's really good to have somebody that's not Polar affiliated, so that we can kind of like show our transparency and have a little bit of fun. And you and the Golden Feather Tavern are really big members of the community, so it's always really nice to have members of the community that are able to welcome like a fun event, which is what this is. I know you're not necessarily PvP centric, but I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. And I mean, I may not enjoy PvPing in these type of things, but it's still really fun to like watch you guys do it. So pretty excited to see how this turns out.
Perfect. All right, before we get started with the group draw, we should probably explain the tournament structure. I kind of prefaced it, but in the details, I'll hand it over to Chibi.
All right. Well, starting Saturday, June 7th at 8 a.m. Pacific and 11 a.m. Eastern Time, the streams and teams will begin the Gauntlet. 15 teams from today's group draw will be placed in one of two groups, Group A or Group B. Each draw will alternate groups. So, for example, the first draw will place the team in Group A, while the second will place the team in Group B. However, if a team from the same guild or organization is picked for the same group, they must then be moved to the other group, and the next draw will replace their spot. If there are more than 2 teams per organization, then they will be placed in alternating groups based on pick order from that point on. So, for example, Polar has 3 teams in this tournament. If Team 1 is selected for Group A and Team 2 is selected for Group B, then Team 3 was picked during the turn order to be placed in Group B. They will remain in Group B. If there were 5 teams, then it would alternate between Group A and Group B, respectively, from the last placed team. Saturday will be round robin in their teams' respective groups, and Sunday will place the top teams against the weakest performing teams in the opposite groups of the opposite group stage. The bracket stage will be single elimination, best of 3s until the semifinals, where there will be best of 5s, and finally the finals be best of 10 series for the ultimate showdown and the winner of the $1,000 cash prize from the first sponsored tournament held on Vera.
Yeah, and with all that out of the way, I do kind of want to mention that the round robin event will take the best 4 teams. So the top 4 from Group A and the top 4 from Group B, those will be the ones that will be competing in the bracket stage. So only the top 8 teams from the round robin event will be entering in on Sunday. But there must be some rules that are addressed for the competition. So first and foremost, everyone from every team should at least be recording their point of view, if not streaming. If there is a call that has been made out there, there's zero evidence. We cannot rule the call on the field. So it is impertinent that you have some type of recording that we can review, and we will review this live with our assistants out on the field on the same game day. And if there needs to be a callback, like a replay of match or anything like that, we will be able to do that. We're aware that there's a major damage bug within the game, since this is the first tournament with the new TTK changes and the rogue archetype. Bards is an extremely desired class. We didn't want to disable anything for this tournament. We've also found that the rogue exposed debuff is providing like an amplifier of damage to the enemy team. So it's not affecting their own team, it's affecting the opposing side, which we ruled that if you choose to have a rogue on your team, you must be aware of this bug, and we more than likely will probably not be doing replays of matches for this damage bug being activated. But just know that you are actively gimping yourself by having a rogue in your team composition. Even though that makes me sad as a rogue main who is, I really excited to see a lot of rogues. So the fact that this may be a hindrance is not really satisfying for me. I do want to note that the Intrepid dev combat team, they are well aware of the bug. They've been addressed to it. We may receive a hotfix. We may not. So don't have any expectations for a fix. There's like no promises, but maybe we'll see. We're going to play things by ear. But just so you're aware, teams can substitute archetypes or players prior and during the tournament. So any last minute changes are acceptable. We apologize for like any inconveniences that this bug is, doing for the teams. But we're also aware that this tournament takes place in a game that's currently in an alpha, and we have to work through the bugs. As a rogue player myself, yeah, I really want to see these rogues, but it is what it is. If you have to sub out, you have to sub out. That's fine. If you have any questions, concerns, please go into the Llewd Discord and talk to any of our assistants, and make sure you're getting your stats in so that I can do production stuff, so I can, put your stats on screen. That would be really, really helpful. Third rule that I have to mention, gear swapping between and during matches is now allowed. There have been concerns about gear swaps during the match as well, as we've decided that it was possible. The nuance to do so in the middle of a match would not be game-changing enough for us to rule players against doing it. So if you can hit those buttons and you can change your gear mid-fight and still win the fight, congratulations. Skill issue, skill diff, I don't know. Last but not least, for the new changes, if there is a disconnect or an Alt F4 situation, there will be no replay of the match if combat has started. In essence, if the match has started and the players have moved, but no one's been hit by an attack or an ability prior to the disconnect, then the match may be restarted. This is where your recordings are extremely helpful, because us as casters may not have the render distance to see if an attack has gone off prior to the disconnect. So please be recording your matches, players. And I'll hand it off to Chibi for the normal rules of the tournament.
All right. So, continuing on with the normal rules of the tournament. Player cams and communications may be streamed live on Twitch at any point, so make sure to keep those comms clean. No consumables or food can be used prior to the match. If accidentally consumed, the player must visit an Ember Shrine to remove the buff for use, or non-combat scroll or consumable to remove a combat buff. For those who have guilds that have leveled far enough into the guild tree to receive a combat buff, they will need to drop their guild prior to the tournament. No pre-buffing, pre-stacking allowed. All resonant stacks, stealth, camouflage, momentum, courage, etc. must be generated after the match has started. Buffs like Strider and Bard themes can be placed prior to the match start. However, if there is any confusion on which buffs are allowed or not allowed, please ask a tournament assistant in the Llewd PvP Discord, and they will tell you if it's allowed or not. All gear is acceptable, including enchants. There is a delay of game mechanic that teams will be made aware of in a meeting prior to the event. Essentially, if there is no activity or intention to engage after 30 seconds after gaining advantage on the playing field, this may result in an immediate delay of game penalty. And finally, there will be an out of bounds to the arena. And if that threshold is crossed, you are ruled dead and out of combat. please understand that this game is still in an alpha state, and there may be bugs, interference, and issues that we may run into. There may be stoppages to review game footages. Please be aware or bear with us that as the game and our tournaments are a work in progress to deliver our best product we possibly can.
Thank you, Chibi. And now for the group draw. Just so you're aware, we are going to be drawing 15 teams into two groups. And from these, this will determine your seeding to go into the bracket stage. So your group that you're in is pretty heavily important. And we've got a lot of good teams. We have some new teams that are willing to test their mettle inside against some of these bigger PvP guilds, and I'm excited to see what they can do. Yeah, so without any other interruptions, let's head over to the Gauntlet group stage. We have our wheel with all of our 15 teams on it. And let me add that bowl that we are calling our bowl of shoal, our shoal bowl, if you will, with all of our mixed matches of teams. All right. So without further ado, let's spin the first contestant. Looks like we have Dusty's team, Cats with Abs.
Nice. All right. Well, that puts Cats with Abs in Group A, number 1.
Correct. Oh. I'm doing this on the fly, and I realize it's a little bit more difficult.
We're doing it live?
We're doing it live. Perfect. So Dusty's team, Cats with Abs, Group A, moving on to the next team. So we are going to shuffle the wheel. And here we go. Madhouse EU.
Awesome. That is our first group for Group B.
And the wheel will shuffle again. And once the team has been moved over, we'll move on to the next. Llewd Gaming.
Nice. That's our second Group A group.
Okay, we will shuffle the wheel once again. And here we go. Standby EU.
I like this one. All right, they are our second Group B.
Correct. Shuffle
Very
our
curious
wheel once
to see
more.
how EU players go up against NA players, given that Shoal is an NA server.
Yeah, so one of the bigger concerns was about like ping, but after talking to some of the teams, it doesn't seem like ping is going to be too much of an issue. And for this team, we have the second team of Polar 2.
All right, Polar 2 going into Group A for their third group.
All of these groups and their players seem to be pretty strong so far. It is kind of a bummer that we are seeing that NA is typically on the Group A side and EU is on the Group B side, but maybe that means that we will get the best NA teams versus the best EU teams during the bracket stage. So that could be an interesting
very exciting,
thing.
Actually.
All right, and we'll spin for our 6th team of the tournament. Polar 1. So this would be T Mugsy's team. Moving over.
So we have Polar 1 versus Polar 2 for Group A and Group B for the third groups. Polar
Correct.
1. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have Polar 2 in Group A and Polar 1 in Group B. since they couldn't be in the same group, they would have defaulted over to the opposite group anyways, but
that worked out.
Yeah, it worked out. And with the shuffle and the spin. Sometimes those rules just get in the way, but they're there for a reason. And next we draw the Cartel, one of the strongest European teams that are entering the tournament currently. So they are looking into almost like a group of death seems to be forming in the group A.
Yes. Well, I guess we'll see a mighty showdown for Saturday then.
Hopefully. Yeah, we'll definitely have some good games. A lot of these teams like Funeral Ceremony, who just got picked, I'm not really familiar with like their power. But it is going to be nice to see that a lot of these teams and a lot of the games, even in the group stage, are going to be very, very interesting for us to witness.
Absolutely.
Okay, with more shuffles. Holiday.
All right. I believe they're also an EU. Or is this their NA? Okay.
They are an EU team. I happen to be from Polar on Holiday. It's a guild of 3 people at the moment. It's kind of a meme, but I think it's funny.
All right. Well, that puts them our 5th group for Group A.
And is it going to be Cats or FBA?
It's looking
Cats with abs. Since Cats with Abs is in Group A already, Cats with Abs 2 would have moved over to Group B regardless. But it is nice that, you know, it is working out in the way of the spin. Here we go for the last remaining 5 teams. We are getting the 3rd Polar team.
All right.
And they will go into Group A.
Yep, Polar 3 for Group A.
So we have a bit of a team kill in this group. So it does definitely seem to be forming that group of death feeling where all of the teams in Group A are very, very strong, while some of the Group B teams seem to have a variety of skill differences. So we'll see how this continues to go as the draw happens. Looks like Ember Beards were drawn.
Yes. And that
Group
would
B
bring
is
us
stronger,
our
no? Nocturne,
our
if you
6th
believe
group
so.
for Group B. Very curious to see how this ends up ranking outward.
Yeah,
especially for Sunday.
Yeah, we do have Polar, who is probably like the top of the Polar guilds and or teams, I should say. Madhouse is very strong. Standby is very strong. I'm just thinking about like the overall disparity between the other teams, and those 3 are starting to show quite a bit of a gap. Cartel diff. Here we go. We got Havoc.
Havoc, yep. I got them for our 7th group for Group A.
And we will have one team with 17, or one group with 7 teams and the other with 8, such as 15 teams. And that's how it'll end up being. And this last spin will decide the last 2 teams' positions.
Bum, bum, bum.
FBA, Kiki's team.
All right. And that leaves Eclipse as our 8th group for Group A.
Yep. And that would be Sovereign's team. And it is looking like quite a showdown. So with that all said, these groups are indeed going to be very, very interesting. So Saturday, it is starting. I want everybody to be aware that we need your stats, guys. We need your stats. So please do that as soon as possible. You're going to help us out a ton. And we cannot wait to see the just apps. It's gonna be like absolutely hype. I know Crix is super excited. Dusty's gonna be shoutcasting with me. We've got a great tournament arena. It's gonna be the same arena that we used last time. There's a lot of different ways for teams to enter the fight, to start a fight, to kind of pressure. We get to see the new TTK changes where fights are hopefully longer. I don't know if Chibi, have you like experienced any like PvP with you or your guild this phase?
Not for phase 2.5, but I did for 2.
There you go. Yeah. So I've noticed that, you can't just play a fight and just completely wipe a team unless like you have to like look for a catch. There's another new
Mhm.
interesting narrative building with the target of your defensive target working now as like a hotkey. So shot callers are more easily to, use that as an option and an available mechanic to pick out their targets. So you can kind of build a narrative around like whose shot calling seems to be working. Like if one member is getting targeted down by more of their members or not. So yeah, I'm super excited for this tournament. Group A and Group B look like they're going to be bangers. I would love to see which top 4 is going to be exiting these groups and moving into the bracket stage for
Absolutely.
Sunday. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. If you're part of the team, I wish you good luck. If you are a fan, please tune in to mine, Dusty, or Crix's stream. I'd like to give a big shout out and thank you to the Golden Feather Tavern for helping me with the group stage.
Of course. Thank you so much for inviting me on, and may Ariok favor you all.
Yeah. Ariok, the goddess of fortune, right? Is that right?
I believe it is the god of war.
Ooh, war. Even better.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, good luck, guys. I hope you have a great time. I will be posting this in the Shoal PvP Discord of the groups. If you missed this, it will also be on YouTube to check out the tournament rules that we have gone over. Yeah, since we will be going into the tournament, TMX or T Mugsy is a player. He has no sway on the remainder decisions that we make from here. So I get to tell my own guild leader to shove it if I want to. So have a great night. Good luck scrimming and prep your teams. Cheers, guys.
Good luck to you all. Cheers.